So we are going to jump into our next presentation with the lovely and wonderful Mariana Acuna Costa from our Venice Beach office. She is going to be showing the production collective. Got a fan out the back there, girlfriend. She'll be available for questions via the hashtag TFNAB. I know there was a few from the last one. We're going to get one to answer them, so he'll be online shortly to do that. And Brad will be asking questions too via the feed as well. So over to you, my darling Mariana.
Thank you very much. Sound. Well, hello everyone. My name is Mariana Acuna. I'm a creative specialist for the Foundry. And the video that you just saw was created by a really cool company in Melbourne for POSFest. And POS Festival is a digital culture festival that takes place every year in Melbourne, Australia. And previous years, the only rule that you had to follow was your imagination to submit an animation for it, because every year 10 studios submit a piece. And so I partnered with them, and I decided, well, let's add a new rule this year. And the rule was that you had to switch to our software. And Visual Playground, the studio that did this amazing piece, decided to take on the challenge with the production collective. So the production collective is amazing if you're a freelancer or a mid-sized facility, because it has all of our tools into one. It has Modo, Mari, and Nuke Studio. And I'm going to talk about Mari and Nuke Studio afterwards, but I'm going to start off with Modo, and specifically with Mesh Fusion, which is a really powerful plugin inside of Modo, where you're going to be able to create really complex objects like the one that you are seeing here. Because basically, it combines Boolean operations with soft-deep surfaces. And I'm going to start off by showing you how easy it would be to create, for example, another speaker right here. So this is the squisher. This is where all the butterflies come to die and be created. So again, let's say that I'm gonna add another speaker right there. So I had created previously, just a few elements using some of the presets that we have for Mesh Fusion. Now, there's a ton of presets in Modo, which is fantastic because, quite frankly, as an artist, they just make your life super, super easy. So that's how I started creating this element right here. So, just going to select a few polygons. Oops. Push them back a little bit. Do that. Now, I'm just going to duplicate this guy. Make it bigger. Move it. Maybe over there, here. So I'm now going to select my objects, and it's going to be really easy because I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to say New Fusion. I'm going to call it Speaker number 5, and I'm going to say Union of Meshes. And now it's going to do its thing. boom, and my meshes have been fused. Okay, so as you can see, I have an OpenGL representation of the operations of my tree with the operations that I'm doing. So now I'm going to add the other element right there in the middle. So I'm going to grab this sphere. Now, if I wanted to, let's say, I wanted to add it or subtract it from the meshes, it'd be really easy. All I have to do is just grab it and drop it into my tree. And this is union, intersection, and subtraction. So that you can see it, you can see a mesh fusion in action. I'm just going to do that, grab my sphere. So move it, and what if I scale it a little bit? Right? So you can see the kind of stuff that you can do with mesh fusion. But actually, let me undo that, because that's not what I wanted to do. So let's say that now I didn't want to subtract it, right? I want to add it to my mesh. So very easy. All I have to do is just drag it again, and I'm just going to drag it into the union of meshes. Great. And so from here, I could maybe, select all my elements and maybe start scaling them up a little bit. And then maybe from these presets, I can grab this guy over here to add it to the top, and so on. So I could continue to build any object that I want, like really, really fast. But I actually want to show you something else in Mesh Fusion that you can do that is really cool. So let me close this in. So don't save. So if you remember, let me open up the preview render. If you remember on the second scene on the video where the fish is coming in and out of the water, well, basically, as you can see in the back here, I have my trees right there, my fusion trees. And basically, when he's coming in and out of the water, you can see the openings. And it's just cylinders that have been animated on the transforms. So with Mesh Fusion, because all of the operations is the same exact thing that you saw me doing, then you basically can create really complex animations and do things like deformations and ripples and so on. So the sky's the limit. Okay, so while I'm here now, because it doesn't matter that I'm in Mesh Fusion, I can still take advantage of all the other tools inside of Model. So now let's say that the director comes, it's animated, he likes it, and then he tells me, you know what, I think you really need to add more mushrooms in that scene because it's just missing a lot of mushrooms. I love mushrooms, you need to add more mushrooms. And I'm going to say, not a problem at all, because one of my favorite tools inside of Model are the replicators. I mean, even the name is cool, right? The replicators are coming. So basically, replicators just duplicate geometry in your scene, but they take this idea of copying objects to a whole different level. So with the replicators, you can basically populate scenes procedurally without the performance hit. So let me come over here to Sculpt, and grab my paint. I'm going to make it a little extreme so you guys can see the difference. Actually, I'm going to start by erasing them. You can also modulate the replicators using weight maps. And so let me start erasing them. Let's erase a bunch of mushrooms. Off we go with the mushrooms. Goodbye. Now, where is my cursor? It's here. And as you can see, they've disappeared. And now if I just want to bring them back, I'm just going to grab my paint again. Going to make my brush really, really big so you guys can see it. And so now you can see how I'm populating my whole scene. Now, precisely because they're not actual mesh items, they're incredibly fast to render. And now let's say the director says, OK, fine, I kind of want to add more mushrooms over here and here. But while you're doing that, I really like those bumps that you have right here. So why don't you add a couple more bumps, just make the scene like it's a little bit more bubbly. And I'm going to say, OK, not a problem at all. Because even while the replicators are on, I can still take advantage of any of the other sculpting tools that I have available in Model. And I have it update live as I'm doing it. So, woo, Let's go crazy with the bumps. Boom. You wanted bumps? Here are your bumps. See? And with the preview render, everything's updating live, and it's super easy, and I can see everything that I'm doing. OK, but because I'm in the production collective, and I'm a one-woman band right now, I actually need to start doing some painting in Mari. I need to start painting some textures. So for that, I'm going to start texturing my, my ground, but I need some UVs, right? And who likes UVing? Nobody likes UVing. So let me turn off the replicators. Come over here. So I am actually going to go to my UV tab now. Now, for speed purposes, I've done this before, previously. But it's really, really easy to UV inside of Modo. There's a lot of different tools that you can do for it. And obviously, I did the UV map before I did all the bumps. But what I want to show you is I'm going to go to Polygon Mode. I'm going to select all my polygons, and I'm going to scale them. I'm going to scale my UVs for 100%. Now, this might not make sense right now, but I'll show you in a second why I'm doing this. And I'm just going to move them into the positive space because this is how Mari likes it. OK, so from here, all I would have to do is just come here to my ground and just select it and say export selected layers, and I would actually export it out as an Alembic file. Now, again, for speed purposes, I've done this previously. Let me close this in out. And let me go into Mari. So Mari is our 3D painting package, which I think I forgot to mention that Modo, since I started off with Modo, Modo is our 3D app where basically you can do everything. You can model, you can animate, you can texture, you can render, you can create particles, everything. It's all in one, and it's fantastic. Mesh Fusion, everything else. And Mari is our 3D painting package, and basically it supports millions of polygons, super high-resolution textures. You can calculate your ambient occlusion, you can update your objects, and you can separate your elements, and you can do a whole bunch of different things. But what I really like about Mari is that it's just super easy to use and really easy to learn. So as an artist, that's fantastic because it just gives you creative freedom to start painting right away and just seeing exactly what you're doing, which is great. Now, before I go into the creative side of Mari, just so that it makes sense what I was doing with the UVs. So here I have my scaled up UVs, and as you can see, for Mari, it's not a problem at all. Basically, it just treats it as a one giant patch. I don't have to worry about my themes. So this is great because it means that the workflow between Mari and Modo is really clean and easy. So in Mari, we have our shaders, and we have our channels, and we have our layers. So now let me actually come to this view over here. I'm going to come to my image manager. It's really cool because any images that you put into your scene, let's say, oh, I don't like this too much. I actually want a little more contrasted. I'm going to apply it, and it's just going to do a different version of it. It's not going to overwrite my actual image. So I'm just going to grab it and maybe scale it a little bit. I'm going to move it around. Maybe do this. I'm going to stamp the whole thing. I'm going to bake it down. Down there, I could see the progress of it. I have it there. OK, do I like it? Very cool. So basically, this was done on the base layer. So from here, I'm going to add another paint layer, and I'm going to come over here and grab that paint. You remember that paint from the squisher and the butterflies. I'm going to bake it out once again. And now I'm going to change the blending mode. Awesome. OK, so here, I could actually add one of our physically plausible shaders that we have, and I can start selecting maybe my color and so on. But what's really cool is I'm going to come to my lights, select my environment light, select one of the HDR images that we have, thanks to Scott Metzier. I'm going to say hi, back to the shader, and I'm going to tone down the intensity a little bit. OK, so from here, I wouldn't stop, right? What I would do is maybe do much more versions of my diffuse, of my color. I would create my specular and my bump, maybe my dirt, etc. Right? And I could continue taking advantage of the flexibility of the layering system in Mari, because I have paint layers, and I have not only mask, but I have mask stacks. I have adjustment layers, and I can even create stacks of those adjustments layers. So I can be as creatively free as I want, and I can come in or use any of the really awesome procedural layers. For example, the environment light layer, because in this case, I could actually see how the light is affecting my actual object. So from here, I would only have to right-click and then say export flatten, and I would export this channel flatten, and then it would just export it out. Now, again, because I need to show this to the supervisor pretty soon, I've done this before, so let's come over here to where my ground is, because before I go into Nuke Studio, I actually want to show you how to bring it back into Modo. So from here, it'd be really easy. All I have to do is just add layer, and go to image map, load UDIMs, and then I can select all my different textures, put them in there. And it'll render out, and boom, and I have it there. Now, as you can see, basically, for Modo, it doesn't matter if it's a 44K resolution image, because it's just going to behave as one input into the shader tree. And from here, I will continue to work on this. And shading in Modo is really fantastic, because basically you can combine items from the shader tree. You can use the channel modifiers, or basically you can do whatever you want in the schematic graph and override materials and just do basically whatever you want. And I didn't have to assign each UDIM manually, because that would have taken a really long time, so really easy. But now I actually have to jump in and see how my whole project is coming along in Nuke Studio. So let's see how that's coming along. So okay, so Nuke Studio is our all-in-one solution for editing, finishing, versioning, and visual effects. And we've seen Nuke Studio in action when you have a lot of, when you have an edit and you have a ton of live action and so on, right? But what if you have an all CG workflow like I do? Well, not a problem at all, because basically you can take advantage of the timeline and maybe go from previous to modeling, to animation, to look development, and so on. And you can even gang all your different timelines together and just see how your progress is coming along from the different stages of modeling, animation, previs, and whatnot. Plus, you can take advantage of the fact that you can see all of the different elements that you are using for your project, because you have all the bins with absolutely everything that you have into your scene, including the Nuke scripts. So not only do you need to have all the media in there, but you can have all the Nuke scripts there as well. So at the same time, you can take advantage of the tagging system, which I really, really like, because I think is super powerful. So basically, you can tag anything in your scene. So let me open up the tags. So you can tag anything in your scene. You can tag your sequence or your clip or your project. So for example, in this shot, you can also create your own custom applications that you use inside of your facility. Let me come to this shot. And I can see, for example, that Johnny from Visual Playground did these particles in Cinema 4D, and I have the Cinema 4D logo over there. And if I come over here, I see that I have another one. I have the CBB, could be better. We've all heard that one before, right? And you can do all sorts of things with the tagging system. Also, if you are sharing projects between facilities, I can also see here, Visual Playground, and their information, really easy. And you can also use it as a pipeline tool. Because, for example, in the case of Visual Playground, because this was the first time that they were using our software, well, I said, well, why don't you guys just take advantage of this and use it as a pipeline tool as well, and create your folder structure so nobody has to do this manually. And we can see here there's the Modo folder and the Mari folder, and with the Alembic folder inside, and they could create their Cinema 4D folders, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to close this out. Now I'm not going to keep them. Now, let's say, like in my case, now I was given this project, and what if I only want to see the actual production scripts? I just want to go into the production scripts and see what is being done. So like I said, with the tagging system, you can do a lot of different things, and one of them is I can just build a track from an export tag. So I'm going to call this BP scripts, build it. There we have it. So now, as you can see, now this even has a little Nuke tag right here. And if I scan for the versions, scanning for the versions, and I just click V for versions, I can actually see like the different look development that was done for this shot. Let me move like around here. I can see what is going on between those different versions. And so now, what if I want to go to this other shot? So one thing that I've always said about Nuke is that basically you can make it as simple or as hardcore as you want. So let's jump into this script for a second. So what I suggested to Visual Playground is, why don't you guys create a whole bunch of different presets so to make your lives more easier. And so you can start off by just doing a very simple, color correction, A over B, just as lap comp, so that you can actually see how your renders are coming along and check them, or to do something like using the presets, and then have a comp template on how to rebuild your V-Ray passes inside of Nuke, because this way, a transition from one software to another can make artists' lives way, way easier. So, okay, so let's say now that I was on my project, and it's almost done, and then, the supervisor, the director comes, and he says, you know what, like this shot, I kind of feel like it's too static. I don't like that pink, and I think we need to add like a lot more movement into it. Or okay, not a lot, because he changed his mind afterwards, but he just wants like a tad, a kiss, a touch of movement, and just he wants much more flowers into the tree. And at this point, well, what if, because supposedly this was going to be almost done, my 3D artist is gone. I don't even have access to the files anymore. I don't have access to the cameras. I basically don't have access to anything. I'm going to have to solve this inside of Nuke. And that actually wouldn't be a problem at all, because you can take advantage of all the different tools that you have inside of Nuke X. And when it actually jumps into the script, we can see it. There we go. So we can use the camera tracker, and from the camera tracker, we can actually create a point cloud. I love point clouds because, let me open this up a little bit. I love point clouds because they're so pretty and so useful. So from here, I could actually just bake out a mesh and just generate geometry exactly from that mesh that I created, that I baked out from the point cloud. So let me close this guy out. And from there, I could build any sort of particles inside of Nuke. Like, it's actually really simple to create really cool looking particles. I mean, you can go, as I said, you can go as simple or as hardcore as you want. And basically, I now have my little particles here, and I added a little bit of movement to them, not too much. I created like the pink color that the director wanted with different sorts of variations and what have you. And I could even take advantage of the particle cache to speed up this process and just make everything super fast. And from here, I'm going to go back into the timeline. And I'm going to actually just, now don't want to go into the scripts. I just want to look at those renders, so not a problem. I'm going to build track from another export structure. I'm going to come to Visual Playground just to look for those renders, for all those particular renders that I have. Scan for my different versions. Hit one here. And from here, just show the director, look, I went from this to this to this. Gotta give him a few options, right, on the movement and the variations of the flowers and the particles and what have you. And the director's gonna say, wow, from this to this to this, I love it. This is looking great. This is approved. You're awesome. Done. Send it. And we're done. Yay! How freaking awesome was that? And I think I've run out of time, so thank you very much.
Very well done, Mariana. Thank you very much for that. I have some questions for you.
You ask
May
away.
I ask some questions?
You can totally ask some questions.
Awesome. So I've known you for a little while now. I knew you as Nuke Ninja.
Yes.
But now you're driving Moto over there.
And I love it.
Is this your first 3D application? Have you been doing have you done 3D before?
Actually, I have. I was a 3D animator before, and I was using different applications, and I switched from one to the other. I'm not going to say which ones, but I stopped liking it. I didn't like it at all, and then I was like, I'm done with 3D forever. I never want to touch it again. Then I became a compositor, supervisor on set, all that, and then went with Nuke. I was like, wow, the 3D inside of Nuke, that's all the 3D I want. And actually, when we merged together, Luxology and the Foundry, I was like, oh no, I never wanted to touch 3D again. And then I saw how much people really like Modo and how much people really like you, Brad. And I was like, okay, I gotta give this a try. And I went on by myself, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And Modo actually got my love for 3D back.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
Bringing the love back to 3D.
Yes.
Hashtag 3D love.
Yes.
Or
Now I can't get enough. Now I'm like, yes.
Well, so it's fun to see you using Modo. Now, speaking of 3D and Nuke, you showed a little bit about the particle cloud generation.
Yep.
I think this is I didn't realize just how powerful this is as a workflow. There's so many ways you can use it, and we've got Grant from Ingenuity Engine coming to talk today, and he actually opened my eyes at the Nuke Studio launch event, seeing that. Can you talk a little bit more about how people use that, not necessarily in the context of existing 3D content, but also live action footage to create a point cloud, reproject?
Yeah, well, basically, it's the amount of different things that you can do is incredibly cool. Because on the one hand, you can do complete set extensions, and you can replace complete buildings. I mean, it's the typical scene that, I don't know, the guy's like looking down, and you think that, oh, he's gonna fall, and the guy's like this far away, and it's all green screens. And basically, by using, the 3D tracks and just creating the point clouds, you can create that mesh around you, and then maybe send it to the modelers, and then they can start building, they can start building all the different buildings, and so on. Or they can just do complete set extensions to also matte paintings, to do all sorts of different workflows, reprojecting from camera, from inside of Nuke, and then just making you believe what we see in all these visual effects heavy scenes and movies, right?
Yeah, it's the thing that I saw Grant do, and actually Grant, ironically, is coming up next.
Right.
But taking live action footage, capturing the point cloud, reprojecting the exact same footage onto the point cloud, and then using a virtual camera to change the camera move.
To
and
change
you
the
get
camera move.
just enough latitude in the virtual camera that's seeing the reprojected images back onto its own point cloud to then change the move. It's
and
really,
you know what
really
else
cool.
that you can use it for is to create 3D mats, and then you save yourself from rotoing, because nobody likes to roto, even though everybody has to do it. You can also create 3D mats, so it's like fantastic. And then all sorts of particles, and just add more elements into your scene that didn't exist before. So I think if I was a Nuke node, I'd be a point cloud.
I'll go with that.
Yeah.
So the other thing I know, so you mentioned particles. We mentioned briefly in here Cinema 4D.
Yes.
And this is something that I love about the culture of the Foundry. Obviously, Moto can do particles. Nuke can do particles.
Yep.
But we firmly believe that we should we are here to empower artists, right?
Yes.
We are to solve their problems. And so if the best way to solve a problem is to hop into somebody else's application and solve it there, that's awesome. There's a mantra of plays well with others here at the Foundry, which I think is a really special thing. And we spend a lot of time and a lot of effort making sure that those relationships, that we have a solid relationship with Maxon. In fact, we have
In
an
fact,
event
we
with
have a
them
party
tonight.
tonight.
That's right.
Maxon and the Foundry.
So always
Woohoo!
playing well with others. Are we running out of time,
Always.
Bex?
One more.
One
One
more?
more.
Okay, so I'm gonna give Mari some love here. My
let's
my
give Mari
tendency
some
is
love.
to go
Yeah.
straight to Modo, but I'm gonna go with Mari.
And me Nuke, even though I'm cheating on Nuke with Modo, but that's fine.
So you showed a little tiny sliver of Mari.
Yes.
And one of the things that people may, if you're not familiar with Mari provides an intense amount of complexity. It's pathological, the amount of textures and things you can apply, or the number of textures, the resolution of textures. But I find that not only is that empowering from a technical place, but it's also creatively liberating.
Liberating completely. I feel that. I feel that even you don't have to worry about the technical difficulties or having to know much about it. To just open it up and be like, even if you click the help, you can have a scene already created for you to guide you through the shading and the layers and the channels, et cetera, et cetera. And I've seen fantastic work being made, not just for texturing characters, but also environments and for matte painters. And you can do so many different versions. And then I've seen people, what they can do just in one channel, but using all the different procedure layers and all the adjustment stacks and the mask stacks. And they just keep on clicking, and it's completely non-destructive. And you can have so many different versions and just create different looks and make people happy, right?
It's there's so much power under the hood.
There's so much power
that
under the hood.
as an artist, all you care about is, I want to throw paint down on this model.
Exactly.
I want to get my texture. I don't want to think about texels. I don't want to think about UVs. I don't want to.
Exactly.
All I want to do is
Seams,
paint.
I don't wanna-
Seams,
no.
And Mari is just paint, export.
boom, bake, back to modern shader.
Amazing.
Eh?
Bex is going to get her little lamb's hook and pull me off the stage.
Oh, Charles Wren loves you. Yeah, he said it through Twitter. Round of applause, Mariana.
Thank you, Mariana.